Have you ever wondered why council tax is always talked about in terms of an average Band D property? Well, what if I told you that Band D has got nothing to do with averages and is actually masking an enormous amount of inequality within the council tax system? I'm Rachel. I'm a public and social policy consultant on a mission to scrap council tax. And today I want to talk about Band D properties. So, most of us in Great Britain will be painfully familiar with the council tax band structure, and all domestic properties are placed into one of 8 bands from A to H, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Properties are placed into one of these bands based on the relative valuation to each other, based on what they were valued as in 1991. That's a whole other video. I'm not even going to get into that, but I am going to cover it another time. But we hear the term average Band D quite a lot, and nobody really ever explains what this is. And you'd be forgiven for thinking, well, most properties must be Band D, or, that must be right in the middle of everything that everyone pays. It's not. Because this is the spread of properties in England from A to H. And you'll notice that whilst Band D is slap bang in the middle, well, actually in the first half, it's nowhere near an average. In fact, only 16% of properties in England are in Band D. So if it's not the most common band, what is it? Well, average Band Ds serve a couple of different purposes. The first is that when councils set the amount of council tax that they're going to raise, they start at Band D and then work out how much the properties in each of the bands on the either side of a Band D are going to pay. And they do this based on something called ninths. So 9/9 or one whole of a Band D is 9/9. Then a Band C is the equivalent of 8/9 of a Band D. So we divide a Band D by 9 and multiply it by 8 to get the amount that a Band C would pay. Hopefully you're with me at this point. Hopefully this helps. A Band B is 7/9 and a Band A is 6/9. At the other end of the scale, on the opposite side of Band D, it goes up slightly higher than that. So you get 11/9, 13/9, 15/9, 18/9. Well, 18/9 is actually 2. So it's Band D times 2, that's an H. But most of us haven't looked at fractions since we were at school, and we deal more with percentages or decimals. So here's the percentages. Now, a Band A, when we pay council tax, a Band A bill is 67% of a Band D. So this is the same thing. It's exactly the same proportions, but put into percentages instead. But that's not the whole story, because it still doesn't explain why we call it an average Band D, where, as you can see from these charts, it's still not average. So the second purpose that an average Band D serves is when councils are setting their council tax, they don't just add up the number of properties and work out how much they're going to charge each one. What they do is they turn the number of properties they have into a number of equivalent Band D properties. It makes it easier to set council tax, but also it's supposed to provide kind of a level playing field, if you will. It's an extremely complicated calculation, but it does produce at the end an equivalent number of Band D properties across the country based on the same formula. We're going to go through a really small example. So in this example, in the tiny village of Royston Vasey, there are 300 local houses for local people. There are 150 in Band A, 90 in Band B, and we've got 60 in Band D, a total of 300 properties. Now, we need to turn those 300 properties into a number of average Band D properties. We're going to equivalize these 300 properties into Band D. And we do it like this. So 150 Band A properties are multiplied by 0.67. That's 100 houses. So 150 Band A houses is worth 100 Band D houses. Same process with a Band B. So we've got 90 Band Bs here, go through the process, and they're actually worth 70 Band Ds. And in this example, we've got 60 Band D properties, but they stay as 60 because they are 9/9 of each other. So when we add this up, Royston Vasey has 300 houses, but 230 Band D equivalents. The reality is obviously far more complicated than this. The calculations to work out a council tax base include discounts, exemptions, premiums. There's a lot of calculations that go into this, and it takes a long time and a lot of effort. But this is how we arrive at an equivalised Band D, which we call an average Band D. Now, so far so good. It sounds like the system has come up with a great way to equivalise across the country and kind of make council tax even all the way around. But we know council tax, and council tax is anything but fair. And that 16% of Band D properties and the rest of them in the different bands, they are not spread evenly throughout the country. So across England, 65% of properties are in bands A, B, and C. That's 65% below average. But again, not average. In Wales, it's 56%, and in Scotland, it's 57%. So even in Wales and Scotland and England, most properties are below a band D. But those are national averages, and council tax is regressive nationally as well as locally. And when we look more regionally, in the Northeast, 83% of properties are bands A, B, and C. But it won't surprise you to hear that in London, only 44% of properties are in bands A, B, and C. And even those regional averages are hiding a trick or two. So there are some extremes. In Kingston upon Hull, 95% of their properties are in A, B, or C. Whereas in Kensington and Chelsea, I'll give you a second to guess, it's 16%. So when Kensington and Chelsea and Kingston upon Hull are setting their tax bases, the way they arrive at an average or equivalised band D is two very different, well, so not different calculations, it's literally the exact same calculation, but they're approaching this from two entirely different perspectives. So when these two councils set their band D equivalents, what happens is the vast majority of Kingston upon Hull's tax base pays a disproportionate amount more because the vast majority, 95%, are in bands A, B, and C. Now, as with all things, I think language matters. And so when we talk about averages and we talk about average band Ds, it sends a signal that we're talking about averages. The average is a band D. That's not an average. It's a technical equivalence that we use for setting council tax rates, but it's entered into common usage and it makes it sound like, most of the country is a band D or most people have like a band D bill. That's not true at all. And it's just one of the many ways in which council tax sucks. So next time you hear the term average band D, think no, not average, equivalent band D. And there is a big difference. So I hope this helps because the more we know, the more we can argue. And the more we can argue, the more we can dismantle council tax because we 100% need better policy.